Welcome, everyone. This is yet another one of our series of webinars on various different softwares that we encounter that are of great value to the construction industry. My name is Craig Hurst. I am the Chief Technology Officer of the Net Effect. And in part of my role is to spend a lot of time exploring and doing demos of different software applications from everything from project management to construction, pre-construction, and so on. But one of the big things that we're looking for these days, because of the human resource issues that the construction industry is facing, is helping our clients find a great human resource application so that they can focus more on recruiting and less on managing their people. As we all know, sub-trades, or whether you're a general contractor or a sub-trade, personnel and finding good people to fill the positions that are in demand is a very difficult thing. And quite frankly, a lot of our clients, when we ask them about how, what's their biggest headache, they're usually telling us quite often that human resource management and recruitment certainly ranks up there amongst the big things that they have to concern themselves with on a day-to-day basis. So today, we are bringing you a presentation by a great company that we've been working with called BrightHR. Bright is an international company. They have operations literally, I don't want to say around the world, but certainly in many countries, Australia, New Zealand, the UK, Ireland, and of course, Canada. And the application that they present can actually be used anywhere in the world. But the one unique thing about most HR companies, and Bright HR in particular, is that they provide a balance between software technology to help you with your operation, as well as services to support the kinds of things that you need to do. So we're excited today to introduce you to Jeff. Jeff is is Bright HR's sales director for Canada. And one of the things that Jeff and I found out about each other this morning is that I live in Collingwood, or near Collingwood, and Jeff has spent a lot of time in Collingwood as well. And we were both ski racers at one point in time. I at a different club than him, but nevertheless, it is a passion that we both have, and something that the more you find out about the Net Effect, the more you'll find out that we have an interesting snow sport background. So anyway, Jeff, welcome. So tell us a little bit more about Bright HR and help our audience understand where Bright HR makes the most amount of sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for that intro, Craig. I was inclined to let you continue doing the entire presentation. You're doing so well there. But no, I do really appreciate everybody coming on today, and of course the Net Effect for having me come on to talk to you all. We're really excited about this partnership. We'll get into the alignment that we have, but it just the compelling story about becoming efficient and protecting your business and staying compliant. I think as small business owners, you know more than anybody, just the risks and everything that goes into building a business and protecting it, and just ensuring, especially within the construction industry, the importance of being up to code, right? And how expensive and costly fines can be if there's something that isn't up to code, or that you're not following right process. So we'll get into the presentation today, and hopefully I leave you with some good insights, not only about Bright, but of course how you can take some of these learnings and apply it to your business. I do encourage you, please, if you do have any questions, or you want me to stop or focus on any particular area, please use the chat function and let those questions go. I know the Net Effect will assist in making sure I see all of those. Okay, so quickly, so Craig, I'm actually not the director of sales. I'm the head of partnerships, but work very closely with our Canadian sales director, Mark McMinn. I've got my contact information on the screen here, so we'll of course be sharing the recording and the presentation with you afterwards. But please feel free to hit me up anytime, whether it's just questions or you want to talk ski racing. No problem. So outlining a brief agenda. Okay, I'll walk you through who Bright is, give you my take and our take at Bright about the importance of documentation management, really the importance of it, and some of those mandatory ones that you do have. We'll talk through the value proposition of course, Bright, but what a good HR and health and safety policy and systems can mean to a business. Talk a little bit about our value added services, and then we'll get into a demo. Okay, so again, Craig did a great job of teeing this up for us, but we are an HR and health and safety service provider that transforms the way that you manage people. So as mentioned, we are in over 5 different countries around the world and operate in many others, but we've got offices in those 5. We service over 100,000 customers globally. And I think of Bright as having really 3 main components. We've got our HR system, we've got our health and safety system that obviously work and mirror each other very, very well. And then we've got our 24/7 advice line, which really puts a bow around that software that we do have. We again have partnered with the Net Effect because we've got really strong alignment in 2 ways. First of all, we want to help our clients optimize the way they manage their people and their operations. And 2, again, we aren't just selling this product and then walking away, right? We stick with you. We're that trusted partner and advisor to ensure that you have the support you need when you're navigating some of these murky and, of course, sensitive topics. Okay, through our partnership, you as a customer, you get preferential rates when it comes to the system itself. And speaking to that advice and support line, you're also going to get an account manager who, when you do call in, when you have any questions or you just want to navigate how to terminate somebody and you need some guidance, our team is going to have your account up, be able to pull it up and know exactly who they're talking to, what issues may have happened in the past, because we don't want you just calling some call center and random person. We want to make sure that you're working with somebody that you trust. Okay, so look, before we get into Bright and our specific the elements of our system, I did want to touch on a couple things here that just set the tone really for again how you're managing your business and how you can start to think about some of this documentation. So refreshing documentation. When I say documentation, of course, it's your contracts, it's your handbooks, it's your policies. Now, it's key to ensuring that you stay up to date with the changes to the law, societal trends, right? Updates in technology, and of course, the strategic business decisions that, of course, can be sensitive to enforce, like layoffs and terminations. So as we all know, the world was one thing before COVID, of course, changed drastically during COVID and changed once again post-pandemic. So that's at least 2 real structural shifts in different documentation that businesses had to have made in the last 4 years. So again, we often think that we ourselves are covered by relying on the status quo or just general intuition, but this is the mindset that can open your business up to a lot of risk. So what I like to say is stay informed and remain flexible, and this will ensure that your business is protected. Okay, piggybacking on that, and just more so that you're all aware, I wanted to show you a couple of these mandatory documentation pieces that small to medium-sized businesses are required to have in Canada. Okay, so everyone must have a workplace health and safety program, you must have an emergency preparedness plan, and you must provide each employee with their mandatory health and safety training courses. Okay, so I'll show you when we do our demo, a couple how you access some of those, but another great example is as of July 9th of last year, you must also have a written employment statement that contains the information relating to a person's employment that is prescribed by regulation. Okay, so these things are, again, it's basic, but you need to have it. It's the names of the parties in the employment relationship, the job title, the address, the date when the employment commences, term of employment, all these things. Again, not sure if everybody's aware of this, right? But if audited, if an employee contacts an employment lawyer when they get terminated and they're asked if they had that or if they were aware, these are the things that can open you up to a lot of risk. Our team not only provides things like this, but it also makes you aware of these changes in legislation to get proactive, taking the steps to make sure that you're protected. Again, as you see, as the list moves down, some of the document requirements vary based on the number of employees that you have and which province you may reside in. But again, I want to illustrate this for two reasons. One, it's no longer enough to just assume that you're up to date. And just because you make adjustments or review it every 3-4 years doesn't mean that you're up to date with the current standards. And two, especially as your business grows, so too do a number of the obligations from a documentation standpoint. Okay, so of course, I'm going to speak to this from the bright side of things, but you can think of HR and health and safety, advisory and management through the same lens. Okay, and I think of our value, and the value of the HR and health and safety system is threefold, right? Protect your business, protect your employees, and find ways to save time and money. Because at the end of the day, that's that's what we're here for. Okay, so look, protecting your business. Of course, again, this is the topic of the webinar and why we're here today. And the reality is, in today's age, employees, they just hold a ton of power. For better or for worse, right? As an employee, it's nice to have it, but as an employer, it's important to note. Okay, so with legislation constantly changing, it is your responsibility as a business owner to ensure that you comply with the latest regulations. Much like the document requirements I mentioned, in the workplace, employers hold the reverse burden of proof. Okay, so if we don't know what that is, it is you are guilty until proven innocent, right? The opposite of in a court of law if you're accused of a crime. And again, it's so that if something does happen, you have to prove that you did everything in your power to avoid disaster and that you trained your employees on how to act accordingly. Mitigating this risk, right? It means having these contracts, the handbooks, policies that clearly outline the responsibilities of workers, managers, and ownership. Okay, we each have a part to play. And it means updating those documents every year. It means providing regular training to your employees, and especially those new employees who are going through the onboarding process, right? You got to make sure they're trained from day one before they start their first shift. God forbid something happens, especially in the construction industry where you're working with a lot of risk and different and changing workplaces.
And I just want to interject for a moment there.
Please. Yeah.
Jeff, you could go back. Yeah. So you talked about the reverse burden of proof. This is a vitally important thing for contractors to understand. And in my capacity as the chairman of the technology committee of the Canadian Construction Association, one of the things that I have to do on a regular basis is take a look at this reverse burden of proof matter, because anytime somebody is getting sued for a workplace injury, that's exactly what they have to deal with. So the Canadian Construction Association knows how important that is, and it's important for all contractors to understand that.
Yeah, thanks, Craig. And it's just it's just so true. I mean, some of this stuff you imagine is intuitive, right? Drinking on the job, it's not allowed, right? You just assume you can't do that. But again, as an employer, if you don't have an alcohol and drug policy that explicitly tells them that they can't do it, then they have grounds to say that I was not told I could not do that. Or if something happens and they are intoxicated and you would otherwise be able to blame their misjudgment or their actions on that reasoning, if you don't have that policy, then you can't use it against them. So, it's not about punishing employees by any means. It's just certainly about covering your bases. And as you said, Craig, it's really applicable specifically in this industry. Okay, so protecting your employees, right? We're talking about protecting your business now, protecting your employees, and you want to protect your business from audit risk and litigation and exposure, but it is also your duty to protect those employees. Now, this has a range of meanings, right? Of course, protect them from immediate harm and risk, but it also means focusing on, doing your part to reduce turnover and absenteeism and increasing job satisfaction when and where you can. First of all, by law, right, and this is just written, employers are required to do everything they reasonably can to protect the health and safety of their employees. That's just a fact. And the reality is that with the changing demographic, and as I mentioned, new technologies, societal changes stemming from that pandemic, your relationship with your employees may have changed, right? You're no longer dealing with, Gen X, right? Who are more of bootstrap generation. Now it's working with millennials and of course Gen Z coming up, where they're on their phones, they're doing all these things, and it's important for you as a business to recognize that and do what you can to implement mitigate that risk by doing things like implementing safe work procedures. I'm sure you all do, but having the tools to be able to do so, reinforce not only those, but the responsibility of both the workers and managers. And then finally, support those employees and their changing needs. So doing this will ensure that you've done all you can to protect them from a health and safety perspective. It just continues on from what we just talked about, Craig. But things are changing, and it's important you do what you can do to reflect that. So finally, and kind of the third piece of this value proposition is where we all tend to feel the heat in running a business is in that finding ways to save time and money. And this is where there is, as I said, great alignment with the net effect. So within this, and as we get further into Bright and the system itself, like, we really want to give you the tools to reduce the amount of manual work that you have to do. We want to save you money by, of course, giving you advice line right when you need it and avoiding costly legal fees or being on the phone with your lawyer. We want to help manage things like time theft, right? That can be so costly for businesses that rely on clock in and clock out workers or multiple job sites, right? And finally, we want to remove a lot of that manual work of requesting or logging time off, managing shifts and schedules, and again, providing workers with the tools to participate in these processes. So we found that when employees take an active role in completing these tasks, it reduces absenteeism by over 40% and increases job satisfaction by the same amount. So the idea, let's remove ambiguity, right? If you've got a certain number of vacation days, let's show the balance. Let's give them the tools. They request it themselves. It goes to the manager. They can approve it or deny it, and it's easy to manage instead of emailing or texting, and losing, valuable time having somebody manually input it, or human error involved in not seeing something. Let's remove that and let's involve the employees in managing it. Okay, so look, I've talked about the value, okay, and I'm going to get into really specific into the software, but what I'd love talking about the most, and really where I think the most value is extracted, is in this advice line that we have. Okay, so outside of that software, our advice line is really the key to the entire solution. So when you sign up with Bright, you get access to over 40 years of HR and health and safety experience. Our team offers 24/7 access and unlimited calls per customer to ensure that you've got the peace of mind when making key decisions in your business. So I imagine there's a few people here, you likely gotten on the phone with a lawyer, whether you're getting rid of somebody or you're changing a contract or you want to vet something within those contracts, handbooks, policies, and what it costs you $500 an hour, maybe more. And if you're asking a question, it's likely a tee up call. There's another call for them to think about it, and there's another call to talk about it, right, and implement it. So it's never just one call ever when it comes to lawyers. So
Apparently,
our
I need to renegotiate with our lawyer.
yeah, right. 500 is probably a nice conservative figure. 450. Um, well, exactly, right. And so look, our experts are trained professionals who again have access to your company profile and ensure that you're getting that account management relationship and the support that you need. Um, something that we also have, and it's a feature within the system, which I'll show you as well, but we've got something we call Brainbox, which is our AI question and answer tool powered by AI to answer those quick questions when you feel like, listen, you just want a quick way to, excuse me, get an answer. And again, I'll show you that, but just overall highlighting that advice and support piece that you have, because I don't care what sort of software or solution, QuickBooks, Facebook, whatever it is, something can probably go wrong at some point. And so just having that outlet and person to call is really key. Okay, so why BrightHR, right? And I guess this is what's trying to bring it home for us here. But as mentioned, right, we've got all these tools are really designed to support the business, both from an HR and the health and safety side of things. So one of the things I really like talking about that is really relevant to all small businesses is our library of over 300 templated contracts, handbooks, and policies that we have in place. So whether it's fixed employment to independent contractor agreements, things like company vehicle or equipment policies, this library, which again is templated and segmented by province, is built and actively updated by our team of legal experts to reflect the latest legislation so that you have the confidence to use these items without spending thousands of dollars and countless hours drafting up new contracts or new documentation with your lawyers. And as I'll, of course, repeat constantly throughout, if you do have questions or you got doubts about any aspect of these documents, please always encourage you to use the advice line because it's free to access and available 24/7. Okay, I'll show you a great example when I do our quick demo at the end, but how easy it is to identify, download, access, and edit these documents saves you a ton of time and can get uber specific when it comes to industry. Next, you within the system, this is where you're going to house your employee information and profiles. Okay, so that again they can do things like request their vacation, they can monitor their absences, their balances, and house your personal details. Okay, it also sits as a mobile application, so you'll see all the different things that you can use as a admin or as a manager. But an employee, for them, this is just going to be something that they use to clock in and out and manage their personal information and request vacations and absences. So giving them the tools to do it on their phone and make it really, really easy to use and access is key. For any of our owners on the call today, sorry. Okay. Okay, where was I? Sorry.
You're
The
about
next,
to
yeah,
about to pay any of the owners on our call.
yeah, yeah, excuse me. Yeah. So, for any of the owners on the call today, you know that when you hire an employee, you must ensure that they complete their mandatory training. And so within the system, we house dozens of both mandatory and non-mandatory interactive e-learning courses to ensure that your business is staying compliant, right? They're like 15 to 45-minute training modules, each with different interactive elements, including a quiz where employees must achieve a minimum score of 80 to 90% in order to complete the training. Okay, as I mentioned with the reverse burden of proof, you're guilty until proven innocent. So when it comes to employee management, it's not enough to just assign these trainings. You got to make sure that they complete it, that they've passed the course, and giving your managers the responsibility, again, within the system itself, to assign due dates, make sure that these things don't get overlooked. Okay. Finally, again, with the absence tracking, and we'll get into all those sort of things. Again, this is just a intuitive and easy to access elements of the system where it's going to remove those manual tasks for your HR, your head of HR, and allow employees to take an active participation in those things. Okay, BrightSafe, this is our health and safety element here. Again, one thing across all Canadian businesses, you're required to do everything you can to protect the health and safety of those employees, right? It's not just enough to assign these trainings to them. You got to tell them exactly how to perform their duties, okay? Again, whether it's the contracts or the documents, these things are templated, they're easy to download, things like posters, checklists. Of course, when you have a certain amount of employees, you know that you have to form a health and safety committee, right? And you have to include a worker, a manager, and somebody from senior leadership in there, depending on the size of the business. So giving them the tools to make their job really easy, and a checklist to be able to run through, just make sure, again, you're following code, you're up to snuff, and you don't have to call a lawyer to put these things into action. Okay, same can be said for our risk assessment procedures, each with clear and intuitive instructions on how to assign those tasks, and of course, get notified and set control measures. Okay, we all know when it comes to a business, any business, it's not a question of when you're going to be or will you be audited, it's when you're going to be audited. So of course, logging activity, assigning these tasks, ensures that you're doing everything you can to protect you and your employees. Okay. One element I'm sure many of you in construction you're familiar with is injury reporting. So it's mandatory to log serious injuries in the workplace, specifically or on the job sites. And our system will not only give you the tools to be able to identify and log those properly, but will also recognize when something is reportable to the provincial authority. Again, like anything, I always advise use the support line to ensure that you don't miss a step in what can be very difficult situations to manage.
Great advice.
Okay, so final piece here before we get into a demo, because I do want to reserve a couple of minutes for questions. But as additional features, okay, we've got our clock in and clock out mobile feature. Okay, we call it Blip. It helps track employee working hours and reduces the number of things. It reduces the instances of time theft. So we've got several ways to clock in. Primary being geofence capabilities. So you identify a location and set a fence that when somebody enters that zone, they can clock themselves in. We also have things like QR codes, and then ways for managers to clock in their employees as well. So really intuitive and easy. And I know for you guys with multiple sites or different areas, and a lot of eyeballs on time worked, this is a great tool and feature. Okay, next. And again, I've talked about our document library, but we call it BrightBase. So this is BrightBase Plus, which is offered to our partner companies. It's customized HR documentation for, created specifically by our certified HR specialists, and a great way to again, if your business has a specific requirement, great tool to be able to access. And finally, we've got our proof of purchase. This is what we call POP, and it's for expense tracking. So making those trips to Home Hardware, whatever, if it, depending on the size and scale of your operations, managing expenses can obviously be a big burden, or an important feature. So accessing this and within the same system is a great extra tool.
Does that system, the proof of purchase, integrate with something like QuickBooks Online or Sage, as an example?
So good question. We don't have a direct integration with them. We do have, the reporting feature that we have, which is all integrated through the POP and same with Blip features. So we export. We have the ability to create those reports, export them into a CSV file, and then
import them into the account.
Then you import them into exactly. So no direct integration. We do have a API called Zapier, where we have integrations with particular functions, but that is one that we do not have.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So that is all I've got for the presentation itself. Now I'll get into a quick demo of the software. Just going to be touching on a lot of the things that we spoke about. And I'll share this presentation afterwards, okay? And I'm going to include an appendix with a few extra items. I just figured we'd keep it pretty high level for now. And on that note, let me get into the demo. Okay, can everybody see this screen? Everybody see it okay? Okay, I'm going to assume that you can see it, and we'll continue on from here. So, first of all, as I mentioned, this is what our interface looks like when you sign in to Bright. I'm showing you the perspective of an admin, okay, senior leadership. So you've got all of our features here on the left side. When it comes to an employee, they're going to have limited functionality because, of course, you don't need them running payroll or running reports, right? So there's going to be some limited functionality for employees. Like I said, they only need it for specific reasons. But this is actually an award-winning design in our user experience. It's designed to be extremely user-friendly and intuitive. So as you can see on the front page here, this is where you're going to be able to see quickly who's on vacation, anybody taking sickness leave, anybody late, and time off in lieu. So quickly here, again, this is my demo account. You're going to probably laugh when you see some of the employee names, and you'll see why in a second. But you can see, right, anybody working on different sites, client visits, or working from home, easy ways for employees to clock in, doing that way as well. And then you can see who's clocked in for the day this way. Okay, and that's just right on the front page. And there's, of course, other areas where you can manage them over here, which I'll get into. I mentioned our AI chatbot. This is right here on the front page too. So if you have any questions, you just type them in there. Okay. An added feature I didn't mention is our Bright Exchange, which is actually an exchange platform for all of our businesses globally to be able to access and get free advertising. You can access specific deals, whether it's for restaurants, clothing brands. I mean, our system, as you probably noticed, is very industry agnostic. So you get a lot of great ads and a lot of great opportunity there. And you as a business can promote your own business as well. Okay, so getting into the employee hub here, where you're going to be managing all of your employees. Again, I don't know if anybody watches HBO. This guy here is obviously involved in the construction industry in in The Sopranos. You can see my preference when it comes to watching television. But again, in this employee hub, you're going to see all of your employees. Okay, you can manage them by specific team. So you've got your senior leadership, your employees, your managers, and then any other specific group that you have. So just for us, in this example, I used manufacturing. And as you can see, Junior Soprano is both on the senior leadership team and the head of the manufacturing group, which is why they'd be shown there. You can manage your teams really easily on this tab. Okay, again, going into employees, right? Select employees and managing them that way, adding or removing anybody from those lists. Really, really easy. Vaccinated employees, less important now, but of course, during the pandemic, that was an important feature to look at. From a vacation standpoint, you can see how many people have taken, what their current balance is. More important for certain businesses that really want to offer it and focus on that employee satisfaction or the work-life balance side of things, right? You want to encourage people to take vacation when they can. So this is an area where you can do that. Hopping really quickly into somebody's profile, just so you can see again what they would be able to see as an employee, and then what you as a business owner would be able to access and manage. You can see their vacation balance right here. Really easy to submit a request for vacation or absence. Okay, just pick the date, right? How many days and the reasoning. And when you do submit that, it gets sent right? Family vacation, and it gets sent directly to the manager for further approval. Now, you'll notice here in the drop-down menu for attendance or absence type, many different options here, and you may say, well, what the hell is bereavement leave, or pregnancy, we know what maternity leave is, but self-isolation, you didn't know that that was an absence that a business in Canada could access. Well, every one of these is a mandated option for absence taking. So even if you didn't know that that was an option, it is. And so being able to offer those not only shows that you're you're aware of what an employee has access to, but giving them the support that they deserve as a Canadian employee. Really important. Okay, a couple of things I want to talk about here, because I know we've only got a couple minutes, is our clock in and clock out feature. So this is blip. So even just last week alone in Canada, we had over 8,000 blips that were logged. Shows that the users of Bright are really actively using this tool, and it's just super easy and intuitive to use. Again, you can see on the main screen who is actually accessing this and where they are located. Okay, if you want to create a different location, very easy to do. Again, you've got your 4 locations that I've just logged here, but adding a new one, okay, you can search, do anything I could do. Okay, search for that location in North York. Now you can toggle how big that geofence is, all the way from 25-meter radius to up to 1 kilometer in radius. Of course, depends on how big your job site is. But creating that geofence is just an easy way to manage those clock in and clock out features for your employees. And again, it's all going to be tracked within the system really, really easily. I talked obviously about our documentation library as well, and all these templated documents, handbooks, and policies that you have. Okay, really easy to segment by type and category, and then use the search function to further categorize based on importance of your business. But as you can see, just using quick examples here, acceptance of retirement, accessibility policy, advising employees to use vacation time, all these things, again, you may find unimportant for your own business, but really important to be aware of within the management of your employees and your business. You can segment by province as well, because as we know, many provinces have different requirements and different regulations. So for anybody in Ontario, making sure that you're following Ontario code and not relying on that Ontario code to apply to somebody maybe in British Columbia or Alberta.
We've got a question from the field, Jeff, that's appropriate
Right.
to talk about right now. And
Perfect.
that is, how does the system manage businesses with operations in multiple provinces, especially when it comes to compliance on these kinds of things?
Yeah, and thanks. Great question. So first of all, again, having access to these contracts, right, for the different provinces and making sure you're following those provincial codes. Next, when it comes to your employee management, you can see and you track within each employee's profile here. You can toggle and change where their primary working site is, and that's both for managing those provincial codes, making sure you're up to speed and up to date, but also for things like public holidays, because there are different ways or different provinces that observe different holidays on different days. Again, really easy to manage those preferences within the system itself, and then making sure that your handbooks, contracts, and policies follow those differences within the system or within your own documents and records, excuse me. That's how you manage it. And of course, if you get into a situation, hey, how do I do this? How do I manage it? Use the advice line. It's there to help and walk you through any ambiguity that you may find in the system. Great question.
Thanks.
Okay, finally, because we're up against the clock again. I know I keep saying that. I'm a talker if you haven't noticed. We've got our e-learning courses here. So everybody knows there are certain mandatory courses that are demanded of businesses in Canada and must be applied and completed by each employee before they start their first day on the job. Many companies don't adhere to that, but if something is to happen and they didn't receive the training, that's where the risk is observed. So your equity, diversity, and inclusion awareness, AODA, which is the Accessibility and Disabilities Act, and then within our health and safety side, which I'll get into quickly, is where you're going to have your WMIS and responsibilities of employees and employers. Each course, okay, as you can see, has, first of all, really easy to access on your desktop. It's an interactive component. So before you move on, you have to complete every element here, right, before you move on. And then at the end, you complete a quiz, shows that you've done it. You can then download that certificate and add it to our document section here, where the company and your managers can then prove that you've done it. Again, one thing to complete it and say that you've done it. It's another thing to show it. So we want to implement all these control measures. May seem like a lot, but they are, again, very intuitive when it comes to management, so that, again, you're covered. You don't have to worry if auditing purposes happen or an employee has a grievance. Okay, I'll show you how easy it is to toggle over to the health and safety side. This will be the last thing. Again, you've got your e-learning courses that are managed here, right? Your WMIS and your health and safety, but also from a risk management standpoint, being able to toggle to risk assessments and categorize these and search depending on what is important for your business and your job sites, and then following those safe work procedures and risk assessments, so that as your business, you're teaching your employees exactly how to work and operate. Okay, I know I've rushed through the demo a little bit, but I do encourage everybody afterwards, please, we'll do some outreach, we'll share the presentation, and we've got software experts, a lot smarter than me, a lot more tech savvy, who can walk you through exactly how to use this system, why it's important, and how it's important to you, so that you're getting really that in-depth knowledge that you need.
Thanks, Jeff. So in the last couple of minutes that we have, and I will, we promise our audience that we will be done at 1:45. But in the last couple of minutes, could you talk a little bit about the price point and how that relates to your value proposition?
Sure, and it's a great question. First of all, we are designed for the small, medium-sized business. That's just, how we not only design our tools, but how we try to price it. And so we price our system based on the employee count. Okay, it's not expected employee count unless it's lower than what you currently have. Like if you expect to be firing people or getting rid of anybody, then that'll reflect in that conversation. But we price it per employee. And it ranges. So on the low end, if you're just using the software and that's expense, your absence tracking and things like that, your e-learning courses and again, just the software itself, that ranges from $6 to $9 per employee. When you start moving up and you add in the advice line and you add in the templated library of documents, that gets you up into the $15 to $20 per employee range. And when you combine it all together into, again, you get HR, health and safety, and the advice line and all the documents features, that gets you into kind of the $25 to $30.
And is that per employee per month?
Per employee per month.
Right.
Okay. And the difference in the range that we talked about there is through two things. It's term. Okay, so more expensive on a 12-year deal than it would be on a 36 or a 60-month term. And through our partnership with the Net Effect, there are some additional savings and discounts that you can access through that, and our team knows all of that. So again, understand, and I know it's the pricing conversation always comes up and it's difficult to navigate, but understanding every business is different. I just encourage anybody through more questions or interest, please give us a call. Let's book a sit down. Let's go through a consultation, much like what you do with the Net Effect, and let's make sure that you're covered and you got the tools in order to protect your business.
Fantastic, Jeff. Everyone out there, please have a safe and healthy Canada Day weekend. See you next time. So
Cheers
long
to
for
that.
now.
Thanks, Craig.